Minasan, yokoso. My name is Nanashi, and today I'm bringing you a review of The Way of the Samurai 4, available through Steam on PC. So let's start with the PC port first. The game has been postponed a couple of times to fix the issues, and I think it was for the better. The game runs smoothly, but in 30 frames per second. There are some occasional graphical issues like the textures on the falling leaves. They look a little bit odd, but nothing major. Buttons on the HUD are displayed properly, and you can play with mouse and keyboard or your choice of the controller. Overall, they have done a decent job. It's not the best port. I would have liked to see upgraded textures because they look a little bit blurry and dated. And the resolution doesn't go above 1080p. Now, the issue is that on Steam page, when I pre-purchased the game, it said that all the DLCs are included. Ghostlight lied to us. DLCs are not included with the game. You have to buy them separately. I'll give them, however, the benefit of the doubt and say that they might have omitted putting few things since they were busy with porting the game. Regardless of whether it was a mistake or not, I'm disappointed. I hope to get all the DLCs, just like in Valkyria Chronicles port. Story and immersion. You start off as a wandering samurai. The game doesn't force you on the certain path, which is great. Do you want to become a villain then? You can. How about a Casanova? You can do that too. Tired of causing mischief? Well, work for the local government officials and drive the crime rate down. Succeed, and you'll have lower prices in the shops, and certain items previously unavailable will become available in the shops. There are around 20 endings and a lot of side missions to get the money and make changes to the town, like opening the language school, which allows you to speak with the foreigners. But your main focus will be getting money, swords, and training your swordsmanship. Once you get that out of the way, you can replay the game in higher difficulties, offering better challenge and even more rare swords and loot. That being said, I would have rather played in Sengoku Jidai or Warren States to unify Japan. This time around, however, you will be caught up in a conflict between Joy members, which are rebels, that want to keep Japan Japanese, government officials, and British faction that wants to trade with Japan on peaceful terms. Or you can just ignore all of that and go on a killing spree. Gameplay, or the meat of the game. Now this is the part that I was most disappointed in. Having previous experience with Way of the Samurai 2 and the third one, I have to say that the swordplay has been dumbed down. Have a look at this image. There are two crucial changes that have been made since Way of the Samurai 3. Sword durability. The gray bar on the bottom left corner. As you fight with your sword, you'll build up the red gauge. Should you reach the end of the gauge, you'll lose durability bar. That mechanic was awesome. You couldn't just spam attack. You had to be careful with attacking and defending. In worst case scenario, your weapon could break and you could fight with your hilt only. You could do the same to your enemy. It was awesome to break their weapons and see their desperate attempts to fight you. Way of the Samurai 4 doesn't have that. So goodbye weapon breaking. There's a durability, but it's a passive stat rather than a bar. This enables attack spamming without worrying about your weapon state too much. I am utterly disappointed. Now the next big change to the sword fighting was a removal of icons above the enemy heads. As seen on this screenshot, enemy would have had different icons: red circle, blue circle, or idle black icon. It was very important to have those icons. You only had a split second to react, but it was the only way you could know what the enemy is going to do, whether he's going to use pull or push mechanic. It made the gameplay tactical. You could read enemy movement and intention, just like a real swordsman would read enemy's intention by looking into enemy eyes. Way of the Samurai 4 removed that. Good luck with pushing and pulling because it happens randomly now. You can't tell whether enemy will try to push or pull you out of balance. It's based on gut feeling or a guess. Enemies don't have those icons, and there's no way that they telegraph what they're going to do. Yet another disappointment. It made the whole combat less tactical, and player feels like he is not in control of the situation, which leads to frustrations. Way of the Samurai 4 introduced another very dumb mechanic, which is Spring Harvest. It slows the enemies down while you can chain your attacks into unlimited combos until the skill depletes. It turns the whole combat into utterly dumb button masher. Previous game, Way of the Samurai 3, had Glimpse of Death mechanic, which allowed the player to parry opponent just before the attack hits you. You needed to defend, and that executed the parry. That left enemy open up for a one-shot kill. It was fantastic. You could chain those skills together. Once they started, they looked awesome, and it made you feel like a badass swordsman. Way of the Samurai 4, however, makes you feel like a little girl throwing stick in the air. Don't believe me? Take a look at this. Button spam, 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 spam. No tactics, no technique, just boring slashing. They have dumbed down the combat. Some enemies take tons of hits, like tons, while they can kill you in one strike. Yeah, good luck with that, man. Even on normal difficulty, you will feel underpowered and that the game screws you over. All that matters is the damage on your sword, which you have to upgrade, and the moveset. I mean the level of your swordsmanship. And that's it. Very little player skill this time around. I would have been happier if Ghostlight ported Way of the Samurai 3 rather than the fourth one. Now another thing is the weapon weight. In Way of the Samurai 3, if you had heavy weapon, your attacks were slower, slightly slower. So longer weapons were a bit slower, but it had a longer reach, as you would expect them to have. In Way of the Samurai 4, yes, you have guessed right. They have removed the weapon weight. So now, the long weapons act and behave the same as the short ones. Sick! What were you thinking? You have utterly destroyed all the good parts of the franchise that I liked. Shame on you, Acquire. Shame on you. Other than that, the rest remains similar to previous games, with the addition of new menus so you can see your journal and the roadmap for the endings. If you can overlook some of those flaws and really arcadey combat this time around, you'll find something enjoyable in Way of the Samurai 4. I was hesitant with the score that I should give this game because of the port quality, DLC lies, dumbed down combat, and rather, in my opinion, boring settings. As I've mentioned before, I would have rather unified Japan all over again than fight against foreigners. I give this game 3 out of 5, which is Assassin's rank. In all honesty, however, it deserves 2 out of 5. I'm overlooking the flaws only because I like the franchise and the game can be enjoyable, but tad too grindy and unbalanced. And we don't really have many games in Japanese settings. So thank you very much for watching. Otsukare-sama desu.
許せませんわ。